Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Here is your tarot reading for the week ahead. As ever, take what's helpful, leave what isn't. Always get the messages to fit into your life rather than try to get your life to fit into the messages. Otherwise, it becomes a mess. So, the first thing I'm going to say is don't take anything that I'm going to say personally. You're not alone. You're not being picked upon by any means. It's an interesting time at the moment. We have this Leo full moon. It's bringing about quite interesting energies. Emotionally, this period is going to prove a little bit challenging. Planetarily, there's just these moments of tension. What is frustrating is that this new moon in Leo is going to make us want to get on with things, do things, be creative, slightly move ahead with all guns blazing. But emotionally, things might be slightly at odds with that. And we may be feeling slightly more sensitive than we ordinarily would. We have at the beginning the Emperor here in reverse. Now, the Emperor is ruled by the number 4, which is the square. Indeed, his Hebrew letter is Hey, which means window. So it is the vista in which we can look through things. It brings about the structure and order within our lives. When I turned that over as the first card, I thought, okay, maybe this is disorder, but in a fun way. That's not... I've slightly set myself up there, haven't I? So you may find that this week feels a little bit chaotic, that routine, that order, that things being very methodic may very well go out of the window, pun intended. What is best done, therefore, is to roll with it, to have an acceptance. If you're constantly finding yourself trying to yank things back, pull things back so they fit into that routine and fit into that order, all that's going to happen is you're going to bring about greater, dare I say, it sounds very serious, but greater suffering or greater discomfort or greater annoyance. The more this week that you're able to be adaptive, roll with the punches, work with things as they present themselves, and just go, okay, that's how it is this week. These plans, these ideas aren't necessarily going to order, but that's okay. I can be adaptive. I can roll up my sleeves. I can be reactionary. One of the best ways to cultivate that and work with that is to make sure that you're always coming back to center. If you're feeling really frantic and throwing yourself about from left, right, and center, that lack of order is going to feel even more disorientating and it's going to throw you even more off balance. But if you can react, do what you need to do, and then say, right, I'm going to recenter, react, do what you need to do, then recenter, it's going to empower you a lot more to be equipped, better equipped to deal with some of those challenges. We also have, and the reason that I started with this emotional tension is because we've got the Two of Cups, the Lord of Love, and the Queen of Cups in reverse here. So cups obviously relating to the emotional realm. The Two of Cups, the Lord of Love, ordinarily when it's upright, indicates equal exchange. What you give is what you receive. It is about feeling that reciprocity within our relationships, feeling an intimacy, feeling, well, I'm going to say respected. Not necessarily indicating that you'll feel disrespected by any week, but you may very well find this sensation of, in ways, being taken for granted, being overlooked, feeling as though your emotional needs aren't met, particularly by others. Whether that's partners, whether that's colleagues, whether that's friends or family. That's not to say that, I'm not going to say that that's imagined or not a reality, because some of that may very well be in place. What I would say is, given the energies that are flowing around at the moment, they just might feel more acute, more magnified than they ordinarily would. I'm not putting all the onus on you by any means, but just double check with yourself. given a different time, different circumstance, if I was feeling a little bit more even keeled, would I be taking this as personally as I am now? You may find the answer to that question is no. And that does take a degree of maturity. It does take a degree of accountability, I know, and it's not always to do, especially when lots of things are happening. But just check in with yourself. One of the helpful tools that I sometimes use, or certainly used to use, is if I was annoyed and I was replying by email, for instance, I would write the email, leave it for 24 hours, come back and look at it with fresh eyes and go, okay, I probably don't mean that. Okay, that's a little bit harsh. Thankfully, ChatGPT does most of that for me now. It takes the sting out of some of those more pointed emails. But I use that as an example of effectively don't say things you might regret, nor please, please, please don't. There are the 5 agreements by John Miguel Ruiz, and 2 of them are don't make assumption, and the other is don't take things personally. And I think those 2, I mean, all the 5 agreements are enormously helpful, but particularly for you this week, I think those 2 will really be playing out. Because the Queen of Cups is reversed, and the Queen of Cups is this very introspective energy, when it's reversed, it can indicate doing that too much. Again, taking things too much to heart or getting trapped into one's own emotions. Therefore, ask yourself, what is the way? And this is something that I gave your fellow air sign, I believe it was Libra. Check out that video. It's well worth it. Libra, of looking at points of catharsism. It was either Libra or Gemini, certainly an air sign. So this is, again, why right at the beginning I said you're not alone in any of this. You're not being picked on, even though at times you may feel that you are. But what is it that is a point of catharsism for you? What enables you to process things emotionally? It's a bit of a thing, because in some ways I don't want you to get too navel gazing and too caught up in what's going on emotionally, but also there is a time and place for you to need to kind of express that. Therefore, I would suggest that that point of catharsism comes through outward expression or being engaged in the world rather than more internal stuff. Yes, it's sometimes useful to have points of reflection, meditation, understanding. My concern here, Aquarius, is, and interestingly, Aquarius is the water bearer. So sometimes emotionally it kind of goes, ooh, I've got to contain them. I've got to put them in a container, much as a bit like this, a bit like the Queen of Cups. And it's a bit of a funny time because you may be forced to examine what's inside the cup, but you don't want to. Therefore, I would say your displacement activity should be found more in the outside world. Chat with friends, go out, socialize, whatever it is you need to do to keep your world broadened instead of it kind of closing in for this week. Unfortunately, you've got the 5 of Swords as well, which is the Lord of Conflict. This is part and parcel of what might be cultivating this sense of taking things quite personally, because you may find it's really, really, really important to think, okay, everyone's going through this. This is why I keep reiterating to almost all the star signs, you're not alone in this. It's happening across the board. So you may feel, well, no one knows what I'm going through. That may not be strictly true. You may be feeling emotionally sensitive and the people around you are feeling emotionally sensitive. So it's like this one-upmanship of, well, I'm more sensitive. I'm feeling it more. No, I'm feeling it more. No, I'm feeling it more. Therefore, the more compassion, the more, although you might kind of think, well, that's the last thing I want to do, but the more compassion, the more patience, the more understanding you're able to bring, the less likely that conflict is able to come about. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week emotionally. This will all break. I think I mentioned this to you. If I didn't, I certainly did to another air sign. This is all likely to break at around from about the 18th of Feb there onwards. it will feel quite lifted. But there's just that slight, a bit like just before a thunderstorm, there's that crackling tension in the air, and then it releases and breaks. So this almost feels the kind of crest of a wave in some ways. Knight of Pentacles is just reminding us as well, don't say anything that we will regret, don't take any actions that we will regret, particularly if they are large actions, particularly if they're irrevocable or that you're burning bridges. This is why I mentioned before, write the email, leave it 24 hours. Please, please, please don't be impulsive, because that is what the Knight of Swords can sometimes represent. But it can also, when it's in reverse, talk about feeling a little bit stuck, feeling a little bit trapped, and therefore the only place to go is inwards in that Queen of Wands energy. That Queen of Cups energy. That Queen of Cups energy can sometimes talk about victimhood. So that is all that you need to circumnavigate this week. But that might be born out of the fact that you feel as though there's not much to do, there's not much to explore, there's not many places to go. But again, I would say, okay, you might not physically be able to, but can we pick up the phone? Can we do things online? Can we broaden our horizons, even if geographically we're not able to do that right this second? As ever, really, really encourage you to check out your rising sign and your moon sign for a 360 look at the week ahead. If you're not sure how to do that, check the pinned comment below and it will give you instructions on how to discover that for free. I would also really ask and encourage you to subscribe, hit the notifications, like and comment. Unsurprisingly, these videos take quite a lot of time and energy and effort, but I love doing them. But it's really, really nice to know that people are responding, they're finding them useful, they're finding them illuminating. So please comment and subscribe. But until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful week and best of luck. And I shall see you then. Bye for now.